this upcoming City Nature Challenge. So thanks everyone for tuning in. We're going to learn about these two projects a little bit more today. So happy Earth Week as well. Earth Day is tomorrow. We're going to have a really fun tree planting demo by Abby tomorrow for Earth Day. Friday is Arbor Day. And again, this City Nature Challenge that's coming up is this weekend, April 24th through 27th. So we are in an extraordinary time, and we want to be able to provide people with ways to get outside and enjoy nature while still sheltering in place and contributing to community science and take place in this regional event of City Nature Challenge. So we're so grateful to be able to provide these kinds of resources, which would not be possible were it not for all of our frontline responders. Big shout out to our nurses and doctors and custodial staff, everyone managing this pandemic and saving lives at UC Davis Health. Thank you all so much. So quick reminder that you can post any questions or comments in this, this section below for the event. So I want to get into some of these interesting projects that we have up. So City Nature Challenge. I want to share my screen real quick. And let me see if it is up there. It's coming. So yeah, the City Nature Challenge. Here's the homepage for the 2020 event. Here's a countdown here. Of course, this is New Zealand time, so for us, it's more like 2 days. So for the City Nature Challenge Sacramento region, this actually started as a nature observation competition between the San Francisco Bay Area and LA County in 2016. And it's just been a really fun way to catalog the wildlife and in this area, photograph, identify, observe wildlife in the area. And it has expanded to 250 cities worldwide. So it is a big event. For us, you can see this map, hopefully. So this is our region right here. And I think the list of counties are on one of these. Go ahead and check out this web page and you can see all the different counties that are included in the Sacramento region. So it has changed a little bit. Let's go here. And so it is still on. So it's no longer a competition is the biggest difference. So since different regions are experiencing different public health precautionary measures, some of the events are suspended for this year, but we are still able to do this. And you can still participate by observing nature in your yard, from your windows, or even just in your house. So the project is very similar to our Naturing at Home. They call theirs Never Home Alone, the Wildlife of Homes project. And so this is what their project looks like. So all you have to do is go and join, similar to our project. Right now there's only 20 people, so we really want to make sure we can get a ton of people involved throughout our region. It starts for us in 2 days, 16 hours. And actually here are the counties that will count for the City Nature Challenge. So go ahead and check it out. That's where you can find a little bit more information. So it works similarly to our Naturing at Home project in that as long as you join and you're within these counties, all of your observations will automatically go to the City Nature Challenge. So you don't have to do too much extra. Okay. So hopefully that's clear. Hopefully y'all can join and really help us get this really quick, shorter bio blitz time. So April 24th to the 27th. And if for those of you who don't know what a bio blitz is, it's essentially an intense period of biological surveying in an attempt to record all living species within a designated area. Groups of scientists, naturalists, and volunteers conduct an intensive field study over a continuous period of time. So this one is a shorter amount of time, whereas our Naturing at Home project is from April 10th to June 13th. All right, so everyone join. It'll be super fun, quick, and I'll be posting the results of that. Last year, they wanted 8,000 observations. This year, we're shooting for 15,000. So we can all help contribute to that. Okay. I just wanted to address and follow up on last week's iNaturalist tutorial. So we talked a little bit about posting your location for each observation. So if it was a concern for you about not having all these posts around your home and people being able to identify that easily, if that is an issue, when you are posting an observation, you can make the bubble you can see when you're posting it a lot larger. So when I am collecting observations in the wild, I make it as precise as I can because I want researchers to know exactly where that point is in the wild. But in our home, we can make that bubble larger. I end up just typing in my city and having my city be my bubble. So that's one way you can address that. We'll talk a little bit, another example of that when Lauren G comes on. And another thing I wanted to follow up with it, Abby asked about weeds in the garden. So any weeds that you see in your own garden or on your walks or even in nature, those are all going to be considered wild. So we don't need to mark them cultivated because we don't actually cultivate them. We don't want there. So I confirmed with the iNaturalist community, especially Lacey Gerhardt, professor here at UC Davis, that the community considers weeds wild. Okay, so one other quick note, people have asked and talked about the Seek app. So the Seek app, where did I put it? Here we go, is by iNaturalist. So it is more using the image recognition technology to identify the plants and animals. So this is a fun thing that kids can do. You basically just take your phone inside of the app and focus the camera on different things that you see. And they can sometimes get to species. And you can upload your observation from the Seek app, but I would recommend for all of us contributing to the Naturing at Home and the City Nature Challenge to use the tutorial last week of iNaturalist because you can get better data. So you can get more angles more easily. You can add more descriptions and such more easily. But this is a fun way just to like play around with the app. And it's amazing what the image recognition technology can do. So that's a quick note on the Seek app. I definitely encourage everyone to play around with it. We'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. Right now, I want to introduce my student from Habitat Horticulture, Lauren G. She is here to talk about her experience. She is pretty much a super user with iNaturalist. Lauren is part of our Learning by Leading program here at the Arboretum Public Garden. Lauren, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Lauren. I'm a fourth-year student at UC Davis. I'm majoring in plant biology with double minors in ecology, evolution, biodiversity, and professional writing for some reason. And
Awesome.
I'm part of the Learning by Leading Habitat Horticulture internship program.
Cool. So we're calling you a super user, I think.
Okay.
Why is that? Why are you a super user on iNaturalist?
Well, I've been using iNaturalist for about a year now. I started it when I actually took Professor Lacey Gerhardt Barley's class at this time last year. Now I have over 10,000 observations on iNaturalist, so you can tell how I spend my time. I don't know. I think nature is my therapy, and I think I need it more than ever. So
awesome, especially during this time. Absolutely, that's cool. So you're gonna share a few more of your pro tips. So Lauren actually helped me with the outline and get everything ready for last week's tutorial. A lot of those pro tips came from her, but she's gonna share a few more notes from all this experience she has. So I want to go ahead and share your screen and take us through some of your tips.
Yeah. There we go.
And Lauren, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No.
Oh, you go for it.
All right. Well, I put together a couple tips and tricks for at-home observations for iNaturalist. I typically like using iNaturalist when I'm out hiking or, walking through the arboretum. But it's sort of you have to take a different strategy when you're doing it at home all the time. So I guess we'll go into present mode. So starting off, I have a couple different tips for different groups of observations, or like plants, animals, bugs, things like that. So the first thing I want to talk about is plants. So Rachel already mentioned this a little bit, what's wild. Usually weeds are considered wild, but anything that you plant in your garden, that's captive or cultivated. So you just check a little box on iNaturalist so they know that it's not like a research point, it's just something you have in your garden. One other tip that I have for plants is to get lots of angles, especially for things like flowers. Actually, when I started, I saw this beautiful purple flower. I'm like, that is super cool. I took one photo of the top, and all these naturalists are like, I need a side photo. I need the stamens. I need the leaves. And I'm like, whoa, I had no idea that you needed all of these keys to be able to identify a plant. So one example that I have of that is on the slide. There's this one species of fern, well, actually two species. They look identical, except for the color of the spores on the underside of the leaves. So I also had no idea that you needed the underside of the leaf and able to identify it until people started commenting and asking for those photos. So on the left is like a goldback fern, and on the right is one that doesn't even have a common name, but the back of it is kind of whitish. So that's my number one tip for plants is get lots of angles, get the flowers and the leaves. You can put multiple photos for an observation on iNaturalist. So that's my top tip for plants. And then this is one of my favorite ones for birds. All of the pictures on this slide are birds that I've actually seen in my backyard. You can see that we just put a dog dish full of water because we don't have a bird bath. And some of these are a little blurry because they're shot through a window. But if you want to find birds at home, just stay in one place and they will come to you. Usually they're a little bit curious, like that little guy who's eating the seeds on the railing. But one thing that you can really do at home is use backyard bird feeders or bird baths, especially bird feeders. I see them come all the time to my neighbor's bird feeders. I'm like, I gotta get me one. But they love these bird baths. So it's a great thing if you just like station it right outside a window, or if you're just being still outside and looking at your bird bath. One other thing you can do, especially because it's springtime, is look out for eggshells. A lot of the times, if you see because there's baby birds around, you might see them, especially now through May and June. And sometimes those eggshells have really cool patterns or spots, or they're weird colors. So even that can identify what kind of bird is nesting in the area. And then the last tip here is just be sneaky because they'll probably fly away if you try to get too close. But if you take a picture through the window, they probably won't fly away.
Lauren, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Have you taken photos of eggshells, posted them, and people have actually helped identify that way? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I found some eggshells. It's funny that you mentioned that just this morning, like teeny white ones from the trees. So I basically looked up into the canopy trying to find a nest. I couldn't, but yeah, that's really great. I was like, can I post this? Is this enough information? So that's great feedback.
Yeah, anything that shows evidence that an animal has been there. That could be anything like eggshells, like tracks, prints, or scat, stuff like that. That also can go on iNaturalist.
So how would you label footprints if you're not totally sure? Would you say like mammal or something?
You could even just go animal. You can just type in animal and somebody will be like, I think that looks like a deer print, so I'm going to put it in the deer area.
Great.
Other people who are experts at this can come in and help narrow down what your observation is if you're not sure.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you. All right.
This one is one of my favorite slides. These are herps, and if you don't know herps, they're amphibians and reptiles grouped together. So this slide has all Davis residents. These are all ones that you can find in Davis. So a top tip for reptiles is always look in sunny locations because they're cold-blooded, so they're going to want to warm up in the sun. So you can see in the bottom left, I have these 2 western fence lizards. They're kind of perched on a rock in the middle of a sunny area. So that's
So
nice.
cute.
How cute. They're hugging. It's cute. Again, one of the tips for this is to stay still. And because if you move around too much, like turtles will hop off the logs and the lizards will run away, or you can just be super sneaky. I don't know. But then for amphibians, in addition to looking in warm locations, you can also look near the water. So anything near ponds, or there's like man-made lakes like North Star Park in Davis, or the Arboretum, or seasonal pools like the Jepson Prairie if you're going out there. That's closed now, but if you wanted to next year. All of these are also in Davis. So that turtle in the bottom middle, that's a western pond turtle. I found that in the Poudre Creek Riparian Reserve. So that's just south of campus. And then these 2 frogs, the top one is from Jepson Prairie in one of the vernal pools, like the seasonal pools that fill with rain. And then the American bullfrog, you find those everywhere in Davis.
Yeah.
So these are all the things that you could potentially see if you're walking around doing a social distance walk. If you do see any frog in your backyard, it is most likely going to be that top one, the Sierran tree frog. I've seen them in the green belt. They hop through people's backyards. They're super cute.
Got it. Cool.
All right, and then we've got mammals. I picked all the cutest photos. So these mammals, one tip is for this is they're most active dawn and dusk, so early morning and right before the sun goes down. They might be also more curious than other animals, so they might get a little bit closer, especially squirrels. Don't feed them, please. One of them stole my sandwich once anyway. It was on campus too. Come on. But they might be startled if you get up too close to them. So some of these, like the California ground squirrel in the bottom left, I found that one on campus. He was just perching, waiting for his photo to be taken. You'll see the other kind of squirrel. They have kind of like bushy tails and everything. They're also around Davis. The possums you find in Davis, that one's actually my grandma's photo, but I still put it on iNaturalist. So shout out to Grammy. That's your possum, I guess. And then these 2 other rabbits are ones that you commonly find in Davis as well. The desert cottontail on the bottom, and then the black-tailed jackrabbit, which you can find in the Arboretum also.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oak Grove and in our meadow over by Scrubs Cafe for sure.
I've definitely seen them in the Oak Grove.
Yeah.
And then the last slide that I have for top tips is for insects. I know spiders aren't insects, but it's just down there. But for insects, especially when there's like really, really small bees or beetles, people are like, how did you even find that? The tip is to look inside flowers. They might sound kind of silly, but that's where that's where a lot of insects hide out, especially the little ones you wouldn't have noticed otherwise. That's kind of how I found the spider that's on the bottom left. Because it's like really white and pink and it blends into the flower that it's on. I was just kind of looking for abnormalities. Like if you see a flower has like kind of like a mutated petal, I'm like, is that a petal or is that a spider? So it might be a spider. I don't know. So just you got to look closely. That's also how you find a lot of really cool bees. One tip if you're doing this at home is to focus on a single cluster of flowers and wait for a bug to land. Because if you're just focusing on one bug and it's going everywhere, it's really hard to like focus your camera and get a good photo. But if you just pick a plant that they really like and you just focus on one flower cluster and just have your camera ready when one flies by, then you can get a really clear photo and that will probably be better for identification purposes. Yeah. These are also all Davis residents that you can find. So the bottom left is the crab spider. Those are also found in the Arboretum. Bottom middle is a sweat bee. I love these bees. I bet you didn't know bees came in green. But that one was also, you can find those in the Arboretum by Scrubs Cafe where the Habitat Horticulture Garden is. And then we've got the spotted cucumber beetle in the bottom right. Then the cabbage white butterfly in the top right. That one's also super common. And then we've got I don't actually know what exact species of dragonfly that is yet. I'm still waiting on an identification, but it's in the bluets family. So you see them all over too.
Dragonfly. iNaturalist can help you
Okay.
identify that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Those are my top tips. So
Awesome. Great tips. Wanted to confirm, did you say a social existence walk or social distance walk earlier? Good question.
I guess I meant social distance,
Okay.
but if you think about it, no, I don't know. Social existence. Sorry.
So what are you referring to just when you're recommending social distance walks?
Oh, like if I do want to go outside and like take a neighborhood walk, I make sure that I'm going to a place where I won't run into a ton of people, or at least a place that I know that the trails are wide enough to maintain that 6-foot distance between people. Because you still want to get out and enjoy nature, but you also still want to obey like the shelter in place, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you do have a more flexible schedule, you could go maybe during the week or something. It is going to start warming up like crazy this week. So like in the high 80s, I guess. But anyway, yeah, thanks for those great tips. For the last few minutes, I just kind of wanted to talk about some of the observations that we're seeing at home now. And, you know, if we can think of any more potential tips as we go along. I actually wanted to share if you could stop sharing your screen real quick, if you haven't already. I'm going to kind of even review of the iNaturalist. Let's see. So I want to be able to share that screen. That will hopefully come up in a second. There we go. So looking back at our naturing at home, I don't remember if I went over this already. We have over 600 observations, which is really great. 17 observers. We'd like to have more. So on top of having our students participate, we'd love to have our volunteers in our community be able to join, and anyone else who's really interested in participating. So I wanted to point out a few fun observations. So let's see. I know that for myself, I've had to remind myself to actually sit and wait and be kind of stocky and what did you sneaky, as Lauren said. You kind of have to be sneaky. I feel like that's the overall tip. So I know that I've had to make sure that I've just sat and wait. Even just pick a spot for 15 minutes. Don't move. Don't get distracted. And so I was trying to watch this large carpenter bee. She was just zooming around. I couldn't get her to stay still. But while I was waiting for her to stay still, I found these really cute ants, pharaoh ants and tibet ants. So mostly what we see are the Argentine ants that are kind of bullies. They're not native to here, but it was fun to pick up on these ants. You can see I tried to get a really close-up shot of this ant, and I will just quickly show. This is my attachment. Let me see. I'm not going to tell you what brand it is, but this is a wide angle versus the macro. So you can clip it onto your phone like this and be able to take a few more macro shots. So, whoop, branding. I recommend that. That's how I took this photo of this dinky little ant. Lauren, for all of your shots, you use a DSLR, is that correct?
Yeah, I do. I just wanted to elevate it from where my phone is. So actually, I just Googled amateur camera.
Yeah.
And I found like this really cool. It wasn't that expensive. It was like, I don't know, 2 paychecks from my wimpy student job, but it was totally worth it because this thing has a great zoom.
Exactly.
I
Especially
really
for
like
your
the
birds and herps from far away. Because again, gotta be sneaky. And if you can't be sneaky, get a zoom lens.
Yeah. So the macro lens or a zoom lens on an actual camera, I think is a worthy investment if you're going to start this as a hobby.
Yeah, exactly. And since I look more at bugs and at the macro level, I know I'm really missing those really nice macro lenses. And again, they can be expensive, but That's why I'm trying to make do with this little guy right here. So they work. Great. So one other, I wanted to just point out, let's see, to highlight Eva 1141's observation. So she was able to get this yellow-faced bumblebee with multiple photos, which is great. And you can kind of zoom in and see a few more details of the insect there. Probably looks like she might have used her phone, but she originally put bumblebees, which the, what's it called? The little button, do you remember what that button is called?
The what did you see?
Yeah, the what did you see button. So that probably got her to the bumblebees. And then she can confirm with us if she's watching or wants to give any feedback, was able to see that it is most likely a yellow-faced bumblebee. So she is also put notes that she found this in a residential area and gave a really good note that there were multiple of them flying around. So these are the types of things that you can add to your description. This is another one that is the foothill carpenter bee that actually got research graded already, which is great. Thank you, nitrogen. But one note I wanted to point out is that she actually got, this person got some experts, including John Asher, who has helped me on a lot of my identifications, to correct this identification. So it can look like a bumblebee from far away, but we have some experts helping her here. And it did get research graded, as I said, but you want to make sure that you go back to your observations and agree with them if you trust that source, or else you'll get labeled as a maverick. So taxon is not a descendant or ancestor of the community taxon. In other words, the community does not agree with this taxon. So go ahead and check some of your observations that have already been made and see who's been helping you. And if you think Lauren has already gone back here and confirmed as well, just make sure that you agree, and then that could be even stronger data. So we are at our time, but I'll stop sharing real quick, and let's get Lauren back on. And I just want to thank you so much for coming and sharing even more of your pro tips. Super helpful. Do you have any last minute other notes that you've thought about from this tutorial, or that you'd like to share real quick?
I think my main takeaway is go join our Naturing at Home project. Also go join the City Nature Challenge. Those are both great ways to be in nature and get that sort of outdoor therapy while we're all, stuck at home. But do it safely, but it'll be super, super fun.
And we got a question just to confirm how we participate in the Naturing at Home project. So we do have a specific project on Naturing at Home. You can also reference the last video, but you just search on iNaturalist Naturing at Home. And again, that is different from the City Nature Challenge, because City Nature Challenge is a BioBlitz. That is a much more short-term one. So just for this weekend, we're looking at similar information. They're both about cataloging biodiversity in mostly urban, suburban areas within our cities. But the Naturing at Home project has a broader geographic region, because so many of us participating are scattered throughout. So Naturing at Home is broader and is for all of spring quarter, whereas City Nature Challenge is just this weekend, just for our region. Great. Let me just see if there's any other questions and you can contribute to both of them at the same time. So they're both open projects. So as long as you sign up for both projects, all of your observations that fit within those parameters will be automatically uploaded. So you'll be doing double duty, which is going to be really great. So yeah, I don't see any other questions that we can answer right now, but go ahead and add those and we'll be checking on those questions. I'll ask Lauren if they're targeted to her, and just, yeah, we'd love to follow up. We'll provide all these resources, and hopefully we'll see all the great observations everyone can contribute to, and we'll follow up on that. So thank you, Lauren. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you later. Have fun. Happy Earth Week.